Glad you tuned in. Today we have a really exciting country showdown. This was a community request specifically for CERAKOTE, the Platinum Rapid Ceramic Paint Sealant Protective Coating. Wow, that's a lot of words. Let's take a closer look at it. Made in USA. I brought this home with me. You're also seeing the latest version here. You can tell by the platinum lettering here. With platinum, I'm always a bit cautious, but that actually has nothing to do with this. But let's take a look at it together. What's included and what can this paint sealant actually do? First, we'll do a quick preliminary test. I don't want to apply it to the whole car and then realize that it doesn't really convince us. First, we'll do the test on the hood against a competing product from Japan. I've chosen the Soft99 Fusso Coat F7 for this because everyone is familiar with it. That way, you and I can easily compare where this one stands. Does this one completely blow the F7 out of the water, or is it equal or worse? We're about to find that out together because I have never used this one before. We're testing this together. I checked everything was included. As you see, the spray head isn't screwed on yet. The cloth is still in its packaging. We'll also take a look right after to see if this really feels high quality. Otherwise, the bottle is included as well. The cardboard box around it is actually a bit on the thin side. So it's actually very, very flimsy, really. They could have used a bit more durable cardboard material for extra strength. But otherwise, the contents are what matter. 25% more content. Professional ceramic coating. I think Andreas is already spinning in circles here again. Maximum shine and smoothness. Extremely water repellent and very easy to use. And I think you're about to ask the very first question right away. Ceramic coating with a spray nozzle? Those aren't protected terms. Anyone can write anything on it. Advanced superpolymer hybrid space coating technology. Let's take a look at it. Let's apply it on one side of the hood. On the other side, I'll use the F7. There's no manual for this. Afterwards, there are enough videos so we can compare, look inside the packaging to see what's included. Because price-wise, it's not exactly cheap either. Let's get started. It also says new on here again. Good to know. Made in the USA. Spray nozzle. I think we've already seen this one on other bottles. I'm sorry, but I think it's made super cheaply. It's really extremely flimsy. So here you still have to pull out this little light blue lock and then it's unlocked. And then you have this very, very wobbly spray nozzle in use, which makes me think, wait a minute, ceramic coating, how many times can I use this? Once and then it's clogged. So that's a point where I say, okay, let's take a look at it. Here we have the bottle right here in front of us. A ceramic coating for that price, especially for 295 milliliters, is actually an absolutely incredible bargain. That's why this term ceramic paint sealant isn't protected, of course. Anyone can write that on here however they like. And there are no fixed definitions or laws that regulate this. That's why these words are, of course, very, very flexible. Let's put it that way. Then we have a few more details on the bottle here. Instructions. Prepare the vehicle in the shade or park it out of direct sunlight. We've done that. Perfect. Done. Then clean thoroughly with a silicone-free detergent and rinse off. The vehicle is clean. That's done too. Thoroughly dry the vehicle. Yes, before applying, make sure the surface of the vehicle is cool. Yes, shake the bottle gently for about 10 seconds. We can do that on the side, but we can't read the instructions. But we'll take it with us, since you want all this information, so we'll add that too. It's also about making sure nothing settles on the ground here. We'll shake it again right before spraying. Now comes the important part, application. You need to spray an even and thin layer directly onto the surface. That means you simply spray this ceramic sealant directly onto the surface. Okay, that's new to me too when it comes to a ceramic sealant or a ceramic coating. And then use one side of the microfiber cloth to spread it evenly over the surface. Immediately after, polish with the other side of the microfiber cloth. Let it cure for 2 hours. During this time, both gloss and smoothness will noticeably increase. As you can see here, everything is completely fresh and new. I'm not going to take everything off completely now. Instead, we'll just poke through here with the spray head. That's already enough. Screw it on and let's take another look inside here. Because there's also a small info sheet here with application instructions. Here we have all the important information again, but I think it's written exactly the same on the bottle. Down here it says congratulations. Let's see if that fits. The cloths are simple, plain. They're more like standard items, but in terms of quality, I don't see any loose fibers, nothing coming apart at the edges or any poorly sewn seams. They really resemble the basic cheap cloths you can get in packs of 100 or 1,000. So there's really nothing particularly special or extraordinary about them. In fact, it's actually made quite simply, without any complicated steps involved. You're supposed to spray it evenly and thinly onto the surface. That's what we're going to do now. It's really just a very, very thin film, as you can see. But that's absolutely sufficient. And then We can use a cloth. I'll fold it up to get a sort of applicator size, and then we can simply spread it nicely with one section of the cloth. So nicely all the way up to the edge here. We can also go a bit further down here. So, and then after we've spread it out nicely, making sure everything is even and smooth, and that's done, we can actually already switch to the other side just like we planned. Just make sure you don't rub the little tag over the paint now. Just use a fresh, clean side and gently go over it right here. What I notice immediately is that the surface actually feels noticeably smoother to the touch. Now with the fresh side of the cloth, you can already feel here that the cloth glides better than before. Not extremely yet, but the smoothness has definitely increased. 100%. If we carefully feel this corner now, yeah, you notice it right away. Just try it in this area. So the paint smoothness has definitely improved right from the start. So, and with that, we've already applied the ceramic coating. It applies just like a spray sealant. So we'll just have to see how it behaves here. We can take this cloth off now, and we can let the other one air out in peace. It needs to cure for 2 hours anyway. With the F7, that's actually a really old bottle. Look, these are pretty much the last remnants. Let's see how it still performs. But the bottle has really been sitting around for quite a while. I've had really good experiences with the F7, and I can say that even after a long period of storage or just sitting unused, it still works very well and reliably. Let's make sure to bring the line all the way down here. What I already like better about the F7 here, let me show you the application again. What I like better is this cloudy film that you spread out here. It's much more noticeable. It's easier to see. It creates a really nice matte surface. Now about 40-45 seconds have passed here, and you can already see the difference. It gets a bit chalky, becoming more and more matte. You can really see how these white streaks become more and more visible. I'll try to speed things up a bit with a dry cloth. Maybe it'll be even easier to see on camera then. Look, I'm going to gently fan a bit of air right here, just so you can actually see it happening live as well, right in front of you. Kind of like a time lapse now. See, it gets more and more pronounced, and you can really see, especially down here where the product is, when it's actually time to remove it. So as you can see, even now after 8 or 9 minutes, I don't even need to wait the full time. It hasn't gotten any more matte visually. And that's why, for me, it's a sign that we can actually wipe it off now and test it right here on the surface. And as you can see, it comes off absolutely streak-free and without any smears. I fold the cloth together and first remove the bulk of the excess. You can also feel here that you're moving against a slight, let's say, dusty layer. So at first, just roughly wipe it off. And as soon as you've loosened up this first layer, you just basically take a fresh, clean side of the cloth and gently start to buff it out in small circular motions. And honestly, it really works super easily and effectively. So I get along very well with the F7, and you can also really notice it here, especially in terms of the paint's overall smoothness and finish. It's kind of, let's say, a bit of a hybrid. Many paint sealants don't have such a nice high level of slickness, but they do last longer. The F7 kind of brings a bit of everything together. You can also see here, nice and clear, we can carefully test the slickness again here. Smooth, noticeably duller, and smooth. So here, there's really no difference between the two. In terms of slickness, both are definitely on a good level. Now we'll just let it air out in peace. I think I'll give it about 3.5 hours now. I'll take off the tape here, and then the car will stay right here in this spot. You can still see the edge from the F7 a little bit here too. We'll just leave that as it is. There's a thin layer of dust that has collected under the tape. So we'll just leave it exactly like this now. Then we'll see each other again in a moment. Let's take a look at the result. Visually, I don't think you can really see much of a difference here. You can still see this slight white chalky edge from the Fusso Coat F7. But here on the left side, I think, even if we look a bit lower at the paint, you don't see no transition or anything like that, no color refresh or anything along those lines. With the F7, there's a very slight transition, but with red, it's not that noticeable. You definitely have to use a black car for that, since it's much more obvious and stands out more. So in terms of the color refresh on the left side, I'm honestly not really convinced by it at all. But what about the smoothness now? You should actually be able to feel a clear difference there. Here we have the unsealed paint. Yes, it's pretty rough with the F7. Much smoother, and here as well, much smoother. But here too, it's completely identical. No outstanding smoothness or increased smoothness, but really just like we know from other products. With the F7, I personally always recommend waiting at least 12 hours. But the main focus here in this demonstration is on this particular product, so let's take a closer look at it in comparison right now. The water bottle has also just been freshly refilled, and now at this point we'll gently mist the surface here to proceed. So I'm going to make a very, very fine mist of water droplets on it. The paint is really in very good condition. You can already see a little bit here. The difference, here you have these transitions again, and here you have the other transition. But what we can already see now is that on the Fusso Coat F7 side, the water is already running down nicely. I'll spray only on the left side now. That takes significantly longer. And look, right here, you can already see the difference just by looking at the runoff path. Here, we have lots and lots of tiny droplets of water on it. As I said, a bit of dust may have settled over time. But just for this initial comparison, and here on the F7 side, we can see though that the hydrophobicity, and that's a very, very important point, is much, much stronger. Here we have the transition again. The droplets are also much flatter there. You can see it again here, but it's not necessarily bad either. As I said, the paint is in a very, very well maintained condition here on the hood. But you can see here, uncoated, long droplets stretched out. This is what it looks like with the CERAKOTE. And with the F7, right, here again a bit of the, increase the amount. There, you can actually see a very, very clear and detailed picture. There is a really big and noticeable difference. So in terms of hydrophobicity, this one definitely has to concede. A water film doesn't form now. It's definitely not extremely bad or anything like that. We'll also take a look with the pressure washer in a moment. Yeah, so if I hadn't told you which product this is, I would have said maybe it's some good detailer or something, like a quick spray wax or something simple. I wouldn't even recognize it as a ceramic coating. We can also take another look over here at the F7 if we let the drops form again to see how it repels them here. I think this is a completely different picture. Look here, look how nicely clear the runoff channels are. Let's move over together, shall we? And now, as you can see, we're coming over here right now. So it's definitely not extremely bad or anything like that. But now take a look at the difference here. Here. So, hydrophobicity. If this is supposed to be considered extremely good, we can take a closer look at what it actually says on the label. Extremely water repellent, maximum shine. I have to say, that's hard to see. Smoothness is there, okay. Very easy to apply, that's fine too, but extremely water repellent considering how it has performed over time here. On this side, all the droplets remain, and here in the middle we can clearly see the difference again. So even here at the very front on the nose, look here, it just ran over this area. I didn't even spray here, it just flowed over and everything settled here. So the difference is very, very noticeable, and in terms of hydrophobicity, the point goes to the Fusso Coat F7. Okay, I think that says it all. First of all, how the water hits, how quickly the droplets form, how much still runs down afterwards here, and on this side, everything just sits on the surface. So the victory here goes to the F7. Now we just have to observe the durability over time. The whole thing is now going into a long-term test for you as well, but this is the picture, and these are also the expectations I had because I already watched a few videos from the US about it. I also have to say, to be fair and honest, I think for the Americans over there, this really is already the maximum, and it really is quite good, but I think very few people over there know this here, for example, as a representative. And that's why I can totally understand when the Americans say, yeah, the water beads off really well and it's super hydrophobic, but that's always the case. If you've only ever had a car with 50 horsepower, that was always fast in your life. If you ever have one with 100 or 150 or 200 horsepower, that's a whole different world. But if you never get to know it, then you just don't, and you think that this here is the best there is. But from our side, warm greetings from Germany here, and also friendly greetings from Japan, from Soft99. Now, in this comparison, I really think we've taken it up yet another notch. And what we're going to do now is quickly wash over it once, because I also want to see how durable the whole thing is. I'll squeeze out a bit of foam here. Just quickly and thoroughly washed over it, very simply from right to left in large broad strokes. So went over it once with a really quick mini wash. Here we have the clear drainage channels again. The drops run down, and here I think it's already starting to wear off. Let's assess it. Should we do a long-term test? I'm starting to lose interest a bit. All right, let's take a closer and more detailed look at this now. I've let this air out for a little bit longer here, and as you can clearly see, on the CERAKOTE side of the sample, we can still mix it together absolutely without any problem or difficulty at all. Nothing has hardened, nothing is hard in any way whatsoever. It hasn't even become gel-like or started to thicken. We can very easily rub it off the surface right here without any effort. The same thing applies here with the ceramic coating, and you can see here, when I go over it with my finger, it's completely solid and fully set. So there's nothing left to smudge here. It's completely solid on the surface. And I think if I try to remove it with my fingernail now, you can see here as well, I'm destroying the entire layer. So I have these crystals here that then come off. On this side, I just wipe it away. So for me, this is anything but a ceramic coating. No, sorry, that's just not acceptable. The videos about it didn't really impress me either, but it was a community request and I thought, oh well, let's just test it out. How does it perform? Personally, I have to say it wouldn't really be enough for me. Price-wise, considering the performance, it's also too expensive for me because here we have 295 milliliters, just under 300 milliliters. Of course, if you label this as a paint sealant, and then down here mention ceramic coating and talk about extreme water beading. And I think I also found information online saying it should last up to 50 washes. Now the question is, what exactly is supposed to last 50 washes? Because after just a quick wash here, and we didn't even have a dirty surface, I didn't use any insect remover or anything like that. It was really just pH neutral, ADBL B neutral shampoo, and you clearly saw the difference now. I'm happy to include this in a comparison test as well. If we compare spray sealants again, I'll include this in the comparison. In my opinion, we don't necessarily need a long-term test now, so overall it's a bit disappointing for me. Lacked letter was definitely good, but the F7 was just as good. The topic of lacked lead isn't very relevant to me. Maybe it makes up a total score of 500 points. Because what's important is durability combined with hydrophobicity. That's what it must withstand. We've also seen clear differences here now. I could have included the polymer net shield from Sonex or something else. The F7 was just nearby, so I used it. Also, I didn't find any info about durability, like whether it lasts 5 to 10,000 kilometers or 2 to 5,000 months or anything like that. There's nothing about that on the bottle either. We'll see each other again in the big comparison. Until then, thank you very much. Long-term test, yes or no? Feel free to write it down. I'm also looking forward to your feedback. See you next time. Yours, Sebastian. Ciao, everyone.